Hi, all y'all. Cree Carnivore here, and this is my 6 month update. Where are you? Those captions come up. There we go. 6 month update. Well, 6 months and a couple weeks and a couple days because I started keto on the January 1st, and then within 3 days, on the third day, I went carnivore because that wasn't working for me. And what I know now, 6 months later, is that for me, carbs are the gateway drug to other carbs, which is the gateway to sugar and all the junk. And yeah, so 6 month update, 6 months in a bit, almost seven. Whatever. Doesn't even matter anymore. I don't keep track. The same way I don't keep track of weight loss, although I did jump on the scale, I think first time in a month, and I have lost 65 pounds. So I think when I last posted, I was at about 35 or 40. Yeah. So it's like the weight loss was like steep, and then it's kind of steadied off. And I think before I went on my road trip, I was calculating it was about 2 to 3 ounces of fat a day, which is good. I still have like a little baby roll, and but it's not as firm as it used to be. And I think if I've got fatty liver, or the fat that's in and around the organs is the most stubborn. And I remember somebody, and maybe it was Anthony Chaffee or Ken Berry, saying that it was like brown fat, and it's like git. But again, it's not about weight loss; it's about how I feel. And so, update for you. In March, I went to Japan to visit my child, and came home, and my sister had done her early transition to carnivore. She is 3 years older than me, and last year she was walking around like an old lady. And this now, she's 3.5 months in, 4 months in. She is like a spry young thing again, and she's amazed. Yeah, and we've both. It's interesting because I discovered at about 3.5 to 4 months that I'm egg intolerant, which is really tragic because I loved eggs. But right now, I can't eat them. And I did watch something. I can't remember if maybe it was Dr. Elizabeth Bright. Someone who's talking about insulin resistance. That there's an enzyme in eggs that when you have insulin resistance, you can't. You have difficulty, like digesting them. So, I actually can have a couple, maybe a couple times a week, which is nice to go out for breakfast with people and have like a couple scrambled eggs and meat. But other than that, I stay away from them. And I was eating sugar-free gelatin to deal with my cravings for sugar and stuff, and it goes right through. So tastes good. It was really good for the sugar cravings, but I don't have sugar cravings anymore. And I've always got my LMNT drink nearby. I'm still drinking about two a day. And then I have at least one, if not two of these uh, a day as well, of just water. So my water intake has greatly increased. And it's so ironic because when you're full of inflammation, you retain fluid. And so, some of the early weight loss was just the loss of fluid. And boy, you sure notice that because you wake up one day, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to burst. And it's like it just leaves, and it's awesome. Um, so I'm down, yeah, 65 pounds. My energy is just excellent. My blood sugar stable. I've given up on the 3 meals a day myth because it doesn't work for me. So I did slow roast some brisket and discovered that it takes much longer than I thought. So now I've got it on a simmering on the top of the stove in its own juices, and should be pretty tender in another hour or so. And that's going to be my meal for the day. I did have a bite. It's cooked just a little bit chewy. I like it nice and tender. Um, that's going to be my meal for the day. I'll probably eat like 3:30, probably about 5:30 or 6, and that's it. I'll be good. Um, I don't count calories. I go by what my body tells me. And my blood sugar is so stable. I don't even worry about it. I am going for blood tests probably on Monday morning. Well, not morning, probably like, I don't know, one or two, because they want me fasting for 16 hours. Because again, like in December when I had my tests, my blood sugar was high. It was 5.7, I think. It's just slightly high. And so he's like, "Ooh, I think you're diabetic." And I almost laughed because this was in, I'd been on carnivore for a few weeks, and it was like, no, definitely not diabetic. Um, I eat, and I said to him, he said, I'd like you to go for a glucose fasting glucose test. And I said, "Is that where you don't eat and then you come in and you drink a big cup of sugary liquid?" And he goes, "Yes." And I said, "No, I'm not doing that. I will, I don't eat sugar at all. I don't touch it. I don't eat carbs. I don't eat plants. And so if there's another way for you to test my glucose, then great, but I'm not drinking a cup of sugar." I said, "Probably I would vomit." And he said, "Okay, then I want you to fast for 16 hours instead of, I don't know, what is it, 10 or 12. I don't even consider that a fast. I don't consider 16 hours a fast because that's generally, I don't eat for 24 hours pretty much every day, 20 to 24 hours. And so it's not really a fast for me. But I do want my blood sugar to stabilize after kind of the morning spike because your glucose, your liver metabolizes your fat into glucose in the morning just to get you up, so you're ready for the day and that sort of thing. And so it can come back with a false reading apparently. And so I'll get up about 8 and then head off to the blood taking center for yeah, like probably 1 or 2, sit in line. And let's see what else. I don't use deodorant anymore because you just don't smell when you're a carnivore. And my sister and I talk a lot about all the little things that we've noticed, like the floaters in my eyes are gone. Although I did notice one the other day. It could have been because of the high altitude. I'm not really sure. That's another thing. So a few years ago, uh, I went to Mexico City just before the COVID shut down, and it's at about 7,400 feet, and I could hardly breathe. Um, yeah, it was terrible. I was gasping for air and falling asleep and waking up in the night gasping for air. And last week we slept at 10,000 feet in Colorado at a camp, and neither of us had any problem. We slept like babies, and we were, it was like we were kind of feeling a little, dragging our butts around a little bit, but wasn't an issue. Um, yeah, I went to the dentist, and the dentist said, "Whatever you're doing, I'm going to have to do it because you have no tartar." And I said, "Well, I have been flossing my teeth a lot, but I said I only eat meat. So I don't get that film accumulation during the day." Like I remember sometimes I smile and I'd be like, there'd be all this crap all around my teeth. It was downright gross. And now it's like there's nothing. Sometimes, get a little piece of meat stuck in there. So I floss every day, a couple times a day. And it's like, and I noticed too that I think I'm absorbing much more calcium because my teeth have gotten quite white. And I like it. It's good. Hearing's better, energy's better. Yeah, like I don't know. It's just so darn good. And I have total respect for people that, lots of people say, "Oh, I couldn't do that." And I know that if I pursued that, I could probably dispense some of the things, or give them information at least about some of the erroneous beliefs they might have. But yeah, people will say, "Oh, no veggies? How can you do that? Like, how are you getting your nutrition?" It's like good beef is the most micronutrient dense food you can eat, and I always choose the fattiest beef I can. I eat pork belly, which is bacon. I just like to get it. I like to get it in a slab and cut it myself because I can make it nice and thick, make it all crispy, and I make these bacon chips. So I'll fry it up till it's golden brown, and then I'll cut each piece into 4, and then I'll just fill a container with those, and that'll last me a few days. It's much cheaper. This way of eating. I rarely eat out because the when you go carnivore, your own steaks are the best, and all the other carnivores will agree with me that eating out it's a real touch and go. And you got to make sure that they're not going to coat it with oil. And more places I notice are becoming familiar with carnivores. I went to a restaurant in Ottawa and I told the waiter I was the server that I was carnivore, and he goes, "Oh, me too." And I said, "Awesome." I said, "I just want a grilled steak," and he says, "I gotcha." And it was awesome, but it also cost $100 friggin'. So I was like, I that luckily somebody else was paying for it, but um, I'll go and I'll buy about $100 to $120 worth of meat, usually on Mondays to the local butcher, and that lasts me the entire week. So yeah, I don't never go to like Timmy's anymore, Starbucks. I never stop and buy snacks and stuff unless it's for, my niece or nephew or some cat sitter. Um, but it's cheap. Yeah, it's so much and so simple. I'll cook once a day, and sometimes I'll cook food in advance, like my bacon chips. Um, or I'll cook a roast and then I'll divide it into, like 4 meals, pop a couple in the freezer, I'll eat it for a couple days and then switch to something else. And it's like there's so much variety. Yeah, but mostly I'm really moving towards the lion diet because my body really tells me what's good, what works for me and what doesn't. And yeah, and again, I totally respect people who are vegan and vegetarians. They go for it. If it works for you, that's awesome. It didn't work for me. And one little carb leads to 100 carbs for me. Maybe it's just my addictive personality, but I just feel better. I feel calm. I feel clear. Uh, my eyesight is like sometimes everything's so clear, it just freaks me out. Um, yeah. So I think I'll stop there. I do have a tips video coming up, but I wanted to do a quick update and just say hi for the 3 or 4 of you that have actually watched my videos. And if this inspires you, it's like just go to YouTube and watch some of these amazing people. Um, for knowledgeable stuff, uh, Dr. Elizabeth Bright, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Robert Cywes. There's so many others. If you're like a distance athlete, there's a really great interview that Dr. Chaffee did with this British researcher carnivore, and Elizabeth Bright talks about the investments that multinational corporations like grains and plant, that's what they sell and produce and so on. The investments they have in dietary food guidelines. So it's quite interesting. And if you whatever issue you have, just type in carnivore and um, metabolic disorder or carnivore and arthritis. My sister, within a couple of weeks, all of her pain was gone. That's why she's not hobbling around anymore. And she even had like a swollen finger joint starting to go kind of sideways, and it's shrinking and it's getting straight. And she's like, she couldn't even bend that finger for the longest time, and she's just, yeah. And then she cheated a couple times, and boy, she said, I learned my lesson, because she woke up and she was in pain. Another friend of mine who uh, has had juvenile arthritis is starting to, just experiment with carnivore, and had some great days, and then ate some poutine and paid a huge price the next few days. Yeah. So, look up, learn, and good luck. Take care. Peace out.